wrong. They actually had to stop us before we went any further, which is kind of embarrassing, quite honestly. But in hindsight, from the day before, the very first group that got to present from the whole class, they were almost at like 20 minutes, or no, they got cut off at 15 minutes too, but they were nowhere near the end of their presentation. I don't even think they were halfway done, now that I think about it. Where us, on the other hand, we literally only had one more slide left, and it wasn't really a very important one. It was like just acknowledgments and stuff, and like sources. It wasn't actual content, but we still had to get cut off, even though we had one slide left. And our teachers weren't too impressed with that, but with what we presented and how we presented it, they were fairly happy with it. And they said that we did a really good job doing that. They just wish it was a lot shorter, that they felt that we could have made it a lot shorter and still get all the content that we needed to. And I kind of agree with that, but the thing is, beforehand, I didn't know what kind of grade we would have got, because I was expecting to get a B or a B minus max, but that following weekend when I looked online at the grades on PowerSchool, if you guys don't know what that is, it's like an online grade book for teachers to check out, and what that showed is that we got a 95%. And when I showed my partner it, we were extremely happy because we thought we did worse than that by a lot. And here we are getting an A, and a lot of other people were getting just like 90s, which is a big margin of difference considering our PowerPoint and presentation wasn't exactly the best. Even I didn't think it was worthy of a 95. But since I wasn't going to risk losing it, I didn't say anything about it. Now, come that Monday, we get the rubrics back, which showed the grading on it and what the teachers were thinking as we were presenting, like what they wrote down, some thoughts behind it. And we get it back, and me and my partner noticed that we have 10 additional points in one category where the maximum was 10. And we had a 17 out of 10, and we're like, oh, so that's where the 10 points came from, so we should really have an 85. Now, we weren't going to say anything because obvious reasons, we would rather have the 95 than the 85. I mean, I didn't have too great of a grade in chemistry as well, but that's a different story that I'll save for later. And I don't even know if, no, I'm not going to be able to make that. But kids in our class were going around, and one of my friends that goes to the same school as me, not just Butcher, he goes back to my normal high school with me. He noticed our grade, and he got a 90 on it with his partner, and they actually practiced and everything, and he was kind of angry, actually. He was like, what the heck is this? And our teacher overheard him say that. She comes over, she just takes our rubric, she doesn't even say a word. Not one word was said, and she takes it and she changes the grade. Now, normally, I wouldn't have a problem with this considering how we shouldn't have that grade in the first place. But I was kind of mad with it because she had a whole 3 days to figure it out and change it. Not to mention, since it's the biggest project of the year, you would think that she would take it seriously and realize what she's doing as she's doing it. But no, didn't seem that way. So I sent her a 9-paragraph email explaining why we should have at least 5% back of that 10% that she took away, which would give us a 90. Because I didn't feel it was fair of her to do that. I can understand we didn't deserve those points, that's not how it was supposed to be, but with a project this big, there shouldn't have been any errors on the grading part. It's just not fair. And that Tuesday, or no, not that Tuesday because she was out at a conference that day, but that next Wednesday, I talked to her after class and she explained to me that when she passed out the rubrics, passed out in quotes, she didn't mean to pass them out, kids just started taking them. And so everybody just followed suit and started taking them, which I sympathized with her a little bit, and I said, oh, okay, that makes a lot more sense why you didn't do just one last check on them. However, I'm still not happy that you took off a whole 10% when you were still given that set amount of time. And she said, well, I can't change it back because it's not what I meant to give you. And I'm like, okay, if there's nothing I can do, forget it, but I'm not happy about it. And afterwards, she told me that when she was reading my email, she thought I was like, I had a vendetta against her, like I was going to kill her. Which I didn't. I mean, I was pretty upset, but I wasn't angry at her so much as I was just confused and a bit mad why she changed it. But when it was all said and done, Me and my partner got the grade that we figured that we deserved, and oh dear God, I need to find some cover. We got the grade that we kind of figured we would get, even though it wasn't the initial grade that we wanted, or what we originally got. But it was still a great project. It wasn't as good as my freshman year, though. Oh dear, I'm going to die. Oh dear, I'm going to die. Please don't die. Okay, I cannot die. But it wasn't as good as freshman year. Freshman year, I think me and my partner, who was the kid that goes to my normal high school with me, and that's the freaking phone. We got an 89 on it, and who is that? Oh my God. People need to stop calling. Okay, you'll probably just hear the phone in the background. For some reason, I have 2 house phones in here. Because that's smart. I don't know. But yeah, for freshman year, me and my partner got like 89s and a 93, I want to say, on it. This year, we got an 89 and an 85 on the actual presentation. So it wasn't as good as last year, but it was still pretty good nevertheless. It was actually a pretty fun project to do. I wouldn't mind doing that one again. However, I feel that the execution of doing the actual experiments, given those high percent errors I was talking about earlier, that indicates that something was wrong with the experiment, and it was probably due to them having us make very precise measurements using imprecise instruments to measure it. And our one teacher noticed that after research was over, and he's like, okay, we gotta figure out what's wrong with this experiment. And I'm like, really? You're just now going to try to figure out what's wrong with the experiment after it's all said and done? Gee, thanks. I'm so glad. But that's the whole sophomore research scenario, which was the biggest part of the year. And then 2 weeks ago from when I recorded this, so June 14th-ish is when I'm talking about, school got let out for us. Although the last day for Butcher was 3 days prior because it's a different school district. But my normal high school, which is what I'm going to consider as the last day since it really was, that's when we got out of school. And me and my friends, let's see here, 6-ish, I could be wrong, I don't feel like counting. My 6-ish, I can't talk now. My group of 6 friends and I, there we go, we decided that we were going to, after school, we were going to head up to a Burger King, hang out there, get some lunch, talk, relive some memories from sophomore year, I guess, I don't know. And then we were going to go back to my house where I have a pool, and we were going to swim there for a little bit, for maybe an hour or two. Then after that, we would have headed up to my other friend's house, and we were going to have a barbecue, although I don't really trust him that well with a barbecue and fire and stuff. But we were going to have a barbecue and just talk, and then he has a pool over there, crappier pool, so we could roughhouse in it a bit more. And we're going to play around in that pool. Not anything homosexual, mind you, because I know that could come that way. And that was another that's what she said, ha 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 ha, I made a that's what she said joke indirectly. No, screw you. But yeah, that never ended up happening. It ended up being just me and Austin and one of my other friends who doesn't really hang out with us too much. We ended up just going to Burger King, and then afterward the other friend went home, and then me and Austin went back to his house and we played some Rock Band. Rock Band 3 actually. And we were actually doing pretty good on it. I mean, we both play on expert. I'm nowhere near as good as Austin though. I mean, he can expert on any instrument in the game. I can just expert bass and on some songs guitar. But we played that for a while, and then after that we went up to a computer store because I needed to get some parts for my computer because I was having some issues with it. I found a hard drive in my basement, a 500 gigabyte hard drive, which would upgrade my total capacity to 1 terabyte if I installed it correctly. But the only problem was that I needed a SATA cable for serial data transfer. I already had a power cord for it, so I was kind of good on that. But when I went up to the store, I realized it was like a second-hand store where they accepted donations of crap parts and then just fixed up computers and sold them at their leisure. And they had nothing there. They had a couple of crappy webcams and some pre-built computers, but oh my god, they had nothing there. Like, I just wanted to cry. But After that, me and Austin talked about some goals for the summer online. He went back home. I went back home too, obviously. And we're talking on Steam about our goals for the summer. And we decided that we were going to do a couple of things.